So Fred, how can we overcome fears? You've actually mentioned it quite a lot of times in your book, Rediscover Your Heart, and you mentioned that fear is holding us back from fully living and growing and loving and empowering others. How can we overcome fear?
Well, I think first we have to be aware that there are many levels of fear, and I tell you, through the decades I came to discover that I have many levels of fear. But deep inside I got way back in the mid 80s when I listened to an audio tape of Jerry Jampolsky, and in one of his lectures he said, love is letting go of fear. Where there is love, there is no fear, and where there is fear, there is no love. And when I came to understand that on a deeper level, I came to understand it on a deeper level. So by thinking of that line, those lines, and comparing them to the experiences I've had in my life, and when I felt checking myself, often in a stress situation, it was always a kind of any form of fear. And the whole idea that I've learned over the years, I'm still learning, is when you have an uncomfortable feeling, it's always associated with a form of fear. Then you have to try and find what the issue is that creates that fear in you. Whenever you have found it and have addressed it, so put a light on it and understand it, you can let go of it. And then it's important that when you understand it, that you replace that fear with a kind of positive affirmation, so that that fear that has gone out, that not another fear slips in, so to say.
So you mentioned also in the book that forgiving,
Yeah, I'm learning also that
one.
a very big one that holds us back is the inability to forgive ourselves as well as others. You have huge conflicts in the world because people are not able to forgive themselves, and they wait for somebody else to say um, that they have to apologize or so. And if you cannot forgive yourself and you are waiting for the other person, you block yourself, you demobilize yourself, and you cannot go on. So I think it is very worthwhile to consider forgiving yourselves, because then it can help you to go on with your life.
And it's amazing how the media, too, and the radio, the TV are just helping us to just this maintain this fear, and it's contagious, isn't it? I mean, everybody's fearful. Our fears are increasing, and it feels like sometimes that's what the media, the government wants from us.
Well, indeed, it looks like that there may be very smart people building systems in which they can control people by fear. If you just create somewhere a kind of chance that terrorists might attack, you already help people contract, because on a bigger level they may start to believe in it. And then if you have people hooked in that way, you can in a way manipulate them and let them go wherever you want them to go. So it's only with, I think, a little bit higher awareness and what we earlier discussed, to have the ability to connect with the divine and find that inner peace, that you can stay away from these systems. It's interesting, on a little smaller scale, we were allowed to do a test in a kind of 9/11 shop. This is an example of how music in shops helps you to raise your brain rhythm, and with a higher brain rhythm we seem to be less aware. And in shops and department stores they use that music to bring us in a lower level of awareness, so that our willingness to buy increases. So anyway, a long time ago, in a shop in our country, we were allowed to
In
play,
Netherlands?
in the Netherlands, we were allowed to play music, classical music, and music of people like Enya. So that's music that generates a much lower rhythm in our brain. In other words, we feel more peaceful. And the stunning thing was that the sales dropped with more than 20%. So, anyway.
To constantly stimulate the mind.
Yeah, if you constantly stimulate the mind, you're more vulnerable to be fearful. So another question that you raised me is indeed, how can we come into that divine state? I think one of the tools is inner self-assurance. I mean, inner self-assurance not in an egotistical sense, but the fact, the memory that we're part of the infinite. And the other thing, the tool to come there, amongst others, are prayer and meditation. And perhaps listening to classical music and
yes,
slower music.
Thank you.
You're most welcome.